for tuning in. On this episode of Dance Garage, Dan's going to be showing you how to rebuild the coupler on a tire machine. Hey Dan, run that intro!
Hey Gearheads, thanks for tuning in. On this episode, we're going to be looking at the tire machine again. It's a Coates 5030A, and this episode is going to be focusing on the rim clamp coupler that's underneath the basket. So we're going to show you how to get that off, how to put new O-rings in it, and how to put it back on. Now the full episode is going to be up there. It'll also be at the end, so let's get to it. Let's grab that basket and get it up here. This thing up here, and I want it upside down so I can see this coupler. So I'm going to spread these back out and put them on the sides. Honestly, I'm not really sure how these come off, so I don't want to break them, but the idea was to just kind of flip this over and take a look at this. So this is the coupler that rotates around while the basket or the table or whatever you want to call this thing, the turntable basket, works. Alright, so got this thing on the table. Obviously it's upside down. This is the coupler. I think it's called the coupler. I forgot. I don't know. So you have the two air lines going in for the piston for the rim clamps. They actually come out here, and the other side that connects to the piston that is down here to open and close them. They're all connected by these hoses over here, which is these hoses are actually for the bead blaster. So if you don't have hoses on yours, and you might not have the bead blasters, these actually don't do anything on their own. They move in and out by the table. Sorry, that's down there. So what we're looking at is now getting this coupler off. As you can hear, it doesn't really sound like it's happy. There's like 3 or 4 O-rings in here. So I'm going to stick a couple of flatheads down here, pry bars, and see if we could just get this off the top, because I think it has to come off this way. So let's see how it goes. Now, this unit is plastic. This is obviously cast, so we want to be very careful with this. If you do break this, I think they're like 50 to 75 bucks, so not a huge deal, but obviously if we can not break it, that would be best. So we do have these air lines here. Not the best thing to pry on, but I'm just going to give a little bit of pressure here and see if we can move this up at all. It does definitely move, so if I can get this up a little bit, then we can probably start going back and forth. Again, you can tell by the gravel in here that this thing needs to be taken apart and cleaned. So we'll just kind of work it back and forth and see if it wants to play nice. Maybe try on these. If this thing wasn't moving around, we'd probably be in better shape, but it looks like it just released off of the top anyway, so it is popping up. Look at that. So we'll just rock it back and forth, nice and gentle like. So this is all part of the basket, so it looks like it's a good idea for this to come off with this, especially if your seals are good. There we go. Now we can take a look at this thing and look at the seals. So So you can see there's a couple of seal O-rings down in there, and there's one up here as well. So we're going to take this and clean this whole thing up, and we'll clean this whole thing up. We'll get seals for this. So it looks like it's a good thing I got this thing apart. There's a lot of gunk and junk in here. They may have had dirty lines over there. I got water in the lines. It just kind of made a mess of things. I believe this was the only thing that was leaking, this and the cylinder over here. So we're going to get a kit for this to reseal this. It's just 4 O-rings, 3 small ones and 1 big one. Alright, I got a lot of work done. I got this all cleaned out, all the gaskets missing. I don't know if I mentioned there was one missing out of here, so that's probably why it leaks so much. Everything else is looking good on this guy. I got this base part cleaned up pretty well. I also took each one of these off of these hoses. They're just like push and release. So I took these off and cleaned them all up in here. Now if I was restoring this thing, I'd probably really prep these and paint them. I'm probably just going to put it back together the way it is because I don't really want to get into all that. I really want to just start mounting and dismounting tires. Cleaned up these threads. I just got to clean the side of this body and the inside, and I did get the gaskets for this, so we're going to go ahead and start putting it back together. I do need to replace those 2 hoses, so we have to get those, but that shouldn't be a big deal. I can get those at advance. As I mentioned when I was working on the fuel lines with the Chevelle, if you're doing fuel lines or air lines, anything like that, you want to make sure they're the high pressure lines. They have the fiber in them. Otherwise, you know, air hoses, vacuum hoses, normal things, you can just use the regular rubber. But we're going to make sure we use the right ones. Alright, I got the rotary coupling assembly, all the O-rings out of it and cleaned up as much as I can. We got some Super Lube O-ring silicone grease. I'm assuming it's specific to O-rings. It does say on here pneumatic systems, so we should be good there. And we got a box of goodies that should be all of the O-rings that we need, including the piston set with this guy. That's the one that was bad in there. These are the standard O-rings, and well, I guess that's all the O-rings. So let's go ahead and get these installed. Okay, got scissors. Let's see. Maybe they just doubled it over really well. Let's see. So we got one little one, 2. I think it only had 3 before. It's supposed to have 4. Oh no, here's the big one. Oh, yeah. So I guess it only does have 3 in here, and that. Which is weird because if you look here, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, oh, I'm sorry. So it does have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 channels in here. So I guess just 3 of them get the O-rings. Probably this one, and that one. And the ones where the air comes in. You can see that. So as you can see, there's 5 channels, but 2 of them have the air that comes in. So I guess just every other one gets an O-ring, and then the big one goes up here. So I'm going to double check that with some assembly manuals I have to make sure that's what it is. And then we'll go ahead and coat these guys and get them in. Alright, it's time to put this thing together. I've been through a couple of other projects, some other videos, hopefully you've seen them. But we're going to continue on and get these O-rings in here. And I got this O-ring silicone lubricant, and I just watched some YouTube videos on how to apply it, so we know we're going to do it right. So I'm going to put some paper towels down here. You know I love these gloves, but these are not the right ones for the job. When doing particular stuff like this, you got to be able to feel what you're doing. So I'm going to put these on, and they're probably going to be too big for me, but let's see how it goes. Here's a tip when using these gloves. If you blow in them right before you put your hand in, it helps open it up so you can get in there. These gloves are great. Hopefully this stuff won't deteriorate them. It's this is silicone, and it's not petroleum based, is what I've read on everything. They say petroleum is bad, like don't use Vaseline or anything because it will make these expand and it will destroy them. So I guess we'll start here, and we'll put 2 aside and we'll work with 1. So we're going to open this up, and it's got no seal on it. So we're just going to take a little bit, and the idea is basically between your thumb and forefinger, you want to coat the entire surface of the O-ring. Not too much, but not too little. Don't you love when people say that? They're like, don't use too much, but don't use too little. Well, I'm watching you to learn that, so just tell me how much to use. So obviously it's not really a formula to this. You want to make sure that it's coated completely. Okay, camera battery died. I'm actually in the market for a new camera, and I found one. So if anybody wants to donate towards a new DansgarageNC camera so I can keep making excellent, wonderful footage for you guys to enjoy, then you can make a donation to, I think I have PayPal set up on my homepage or something. So we're going to just go ahead and lay this gasket O-ring. I guess it is a gasket, but it's an O-ring. So we're going to lay it right in there, and that looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and do these other 2, and then I will cut to the big one when we get to that. Okay, I'm running out of fingers that aren't covered in silicone, but if you can see that, you can see we got the 3 O-rings where they need to be. As I stated in the beginning, I thought there was supposed to be 4, and then I was confused about 5, but it looks like there's 5 spaces, but 2 are for the air to go in, and then depending on which pedal you're pushing is going to make the claws open or close. This big one on the back, as we know, is for the air blaster. So with that all taken care of and figured out, we're going to go ahead and grab the big one here, which is going to go on the top, and we'll just squirt a little bit. If you're following along on doing this yourself and wondering how much to use, I still have no idea. We're just going to coat every surface all the way around it. If you need a little more, put a little more. I would say there's probably better to have a little bit more than a little bit less, but I'm not a professional, so. And then we're just going to go ahead and seat this in here, and then we should be good to go. So that is all set there. So make sure it's nicely coated on the inside. Alright, so I'm going to take these gloves off. I'm going to bring the basket up here. We're going to sand it down a little bit, make sure it's cleaned up. I might put a little bit of this stuff on that as well, and then we'll put this down on that. And then I think we can put it back on the machine. Okay, got that moved out of the way. Got my heavy duty gloves. We're going to grab the basket and bring it up here. Now keep in mind I kept the clamps on here. You do not have to do that. Now I know it's really easy to take them off, but honestly I'm kind of concerned I would put them on wrong, even though there probably isn't wrong. So, this is pretty much cleaned up. I think I'm just going to hit it with, what do I have, 320 sandpaper, just to make sure there's no burrs and everything is good. And then I'm going to hit some of the silicone on all these surfaces, and then we'll go ahead and take this guy and plop it on here. Okay, got a new pair of gloves. The thing I hate about these is they're not really reusable. I can't take them off and put them on again. So I'm just going to make sure that there's no burrs or anything on here. This is cleaned as much as it should be / can be. And the machine is ready to take it back on. And I think we'll be in good shape. Want to just make sure all the air passageways that are in here are all clean, so maybe we'll hit those with some compressed air just to clean them up, and then we'll hit this with some silicone, and we should be good to go. Right? Right. So we sanded this down, and I'm saying this again in case I can't use the shot of me sanding it down because it was too noisy, but I used some sandpaper on this, and I'm just going to wipe it down. And this thing is still rocking around because remember I left one of the bolts in it, so I knew where it went. Honestly, I don't think it matters which direction this thing goes in, but what does matter is having this silicone kind of protect everything. So I'm going to put a light coat of silicone kind of around this whole thing, and with the silicone on the O-rings, I think that should make sure that this thing is going to work flawlessly. Hopefully this will also keep junk out of here, and some of this may get blown through the lines. I don't think this outside is even a part of it, but we got this all lubed, so I'm going to go ahead and take this and plop it on here. Now you want to make sure that you're not catching any of these O-rings when you're putting it on. So as we took it off very gently, we're going to go ahead and put it on very gently, and it should pop on the same way it popped off, which that feels like it did. And now this obviously is moving a lot better with all these all this lubrication on it. Now if you recall, this stays stationary on the machine because the hoses are coming in, and then the basket rotates around it depending on which way the air goes in. So this actually feels pretty tight. Oh, no, maybe it just went down. So I don't know if you remember when I took it apart, this was like rolling around like nobody's business. So maybe that's good that it's tight because we don't want air to leak. So We're going to hope that's right.
Alright guys, so I'm going to end the video here. This is just a short snippet of my entire video of rebuilding the Coates 5030A. Most other units are the same if they have a single air cylinder at the top. If you are interested in watching a rebuild on the air cylinder or how to get the basket off, which I couldn't find any videos on YouTube, check out the videos at the end of this video. I'll put one up of the full video, I'll put one up of the playlist so you can check out all the little videos, which this will be included in that. I have also found out that these units like 150 plus PSI. Now I have a single stage air compressor that likes to live around 135 at the most. So if you have a single stage air compressor and you have a tire machine, you may need to rethink what you're doing. What am I going to do? I don't know. You can't really upgrade a single stage to a dual stage unless you buy a motor, which is like $1,000. So maybe a used one will work. If I pump this compressor all the way up, I can pretty much get one tire change out of it. I don't plan on using it that much, so I think I'm going to live in that region right there until I either sell the air, get a new air compressor, or sell the tire machine. So I don't know. Other than that, I thank you for watching this video. If you don't know why I bought a tire machine, well, it's because I bought a lot of Chevelles. I like classic cars. I work on them. So check out my channel. If you're interested, please subscribe, like the video, share the video. There's also links down below that have information to other channels that you should check out. They're cool car channels also. And that's pretty much it for this one. So I thank you for watching. Stay positive and keep on wrenching.